about the washrooms, so I was gonna bring that up.
I was gonna do. I talked to Debbie about it. But you can bring it up.
It does, it's good enough.
We're live?
There, as long as we bring it up.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, June the 9th, and this is our regular meeting of council. All of council is present. We do have one councillor. Councillor Spicer is attending virtually this morning. The rest of the council is in the council chamber. We also have with us our CAO, Deepak Joshi, and our assistant CAO, Colleen Saylor. And with that, I will ask for the adoption of the agenda, please.
Be it resolved, the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated with the noted additions. Communications for Information 9.2.2 Building Sustainable Communities Program Grant Approvals, South St. Clements.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazerovic, second. Councillor Strang. Any other additions or deletions for the agenda today? Go ahead, Councillor Corbis.
Yeah, I'd like to add Balsam Bay Harbor, about some washrooms. Somebody had called about some washrooms there, porta potties, and garbage cans there.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody would like to add? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Quick discussion on fire ban, please.
Okay. Anything else, council members? Hearing and seeing nothing, I have a mover, I have a seconder. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Next item is confirmation of the minutes, and we have one set of minutes from the regular meeting on May the 26th, and if I could have the resolution, please.
Resolve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 26, 2020, meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion, corrections, changes? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations today. We have no communications for action. We have some new and other business. 6.1 on the agenda is Manitoba Good Roads, the annual competition. And we've had this on the agenda a few times, and I think we now have some nominations in some of the categories. We still don't have in all of the categories, but I believe the due date is coming very shortly. If we haven't already passed it, I don't believe we have. But I will let Deepak go over what we have come up with, and it looks like we may have a couple of places where we need to make a decision on whose property to enter, because we're only allowed one property per entry per municipality. So, go ahead, Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you know, as you just said, we haven't missed the due date. The due date is June 19th, 2020, so we should be making the decision shortly. As you know, there were several categories identified as part of the 2020 annual competition for the Manitoba Good Roads. The municipal road maintenance, we are automatically entered into it. As per the gravel road, it requires a half mile of new or rebuilt gravel road. We have not, unfortunately, constructed a new rebuilt as per their requirements. That meets those requirements for a few years, so there is no submission for this category. As to the urban beautification contest, it must be an unincorporated urban center, so on category 3 there was nothing identified. For the best farm home ground contest, there were 2 properties identified. The council will have to make a decision which one they would prefer to submit as which property. One property is Murray Chorney at 31149 Road 77 North, or Ron and Barbara Taskey at 8292 Henderson Highway. Finally, number 5, or not finally, almost finally, is the best non-farm rural town contest. There were 2 identified, and as per last meeting, Councilor Belanger had requested for his name to be removed to allow for the residents' name to be put forward. So we're recommending Peter Tomko on that one. On item number 6, again, it was an unincorporated urban center. We don't have anything that meets that category. So the only decision council has to make is on number 4 on Murray, Chorney, or Ron and Barb Pataski's properties.
Okay, comments, questions, queries? I guess I have one, because when I was looking, oh, go ahead, Councilor Horvis.
Which category would Sabatini would have fallen? Did you know? I thought you had mentioned Sabatini.
They would have fallen under,
Wouldn't Tomco be considered as commercial?
Well, it'd be the category of non-farm, non-rural home grounds.
right,
Yeah.
non-farm.
They're non-farm, but they are probably a limited or a corporation.
I don't know how the business is registered.
There's 2 things.
But I know that like they have their property and then it's the business, so I'm not sure. I guess the one that I was looking at is the best home grounds in an unincorporated urban center contest. Like we have the Rewicki property, that's at Lockport. That was Lockport. Would you consider Lockport an unincorporated urban center?
It's an urban
Kind of
center.
pushing the envelope,
That
but.
is pushing the envelope on that one.
But I thought, maybe we could try that. We go ahead, Councilor Sutherland.
Out at Balsam Harbor, what category would that go under in the beaches there? I have one I'm thinking about
Well, there's really no category for cottage country. So it would either have to be, number 5.
now. I was thinking of George Gloria Walker.
Oh, yeah, okay,
He phoned me the other day, and for some reason I started thinking
right.
about.
Yeah, the only thing is that we can only put 1 in each category, and Councilor Horvis has also brought up Gail Sabatini, and she is at Lake Shore Heights.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's another one. Go ahead, Councilor
If I
Belanger.
may suggest that we just move forward with what we got, because we could talk about this every meeting and add, take away, add, take away.
Yeah,
We did it
I
for us.
think we need to make a decision, but you know what? We should keep those properties in mind for next year, because I'm sure that there'll be hopefully a better competition next year. Maybe we'll have a little bit more leeway on, and I will bring it up at the board meeting about cottage country, or, more of a non-rural setting. So go ahead, Councilor Vazzaroli.
Well, on a cottage country thing, is it a cottage or is it a home? Are they there full time or are they there part time? That's another thing you have to.
Well, see, and the one that Councilor Sutherland brought up, they're there full-time, and I believe that Gail
And I would call that
Sabatini is
home.
there. That's right, they're full-time residents there. But they're located in our cottage country,
Shouldn't
so,
matter, it's still,
Yeah. yeah. Okay, so going with what Councilor Belanger has said, look at number 4, and what is the choice there? Murray Chorney's in the country, or Pataski's along Henderson Highway? Go ahead, Councilor Belanger.
I just know Murray Chorney's yard. It's a very nice yard. He's fixed up that old historic barn he has in his yard there. It's one of a kind. I mean, it's one of a kind in this area anyway.
Okay. Councilor Sutherland?
I would say Murray Chorney.
Yeah, okay. Councilor Strain?
Yeah, I was gonna move
Uh,
this
Chair.
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 I haven't seen either, so
Okay,
I'll just go with the majority.
okay. Councilor Horvis?
I'll go with the majority.
Okay,
I've got to go the same way. I've seen the flash, I've never actually been in the yard, I drove by it.
right,
I don't, not sure which one it is.
yeah.
It might have been my brother's old place.
Okay, so for number 4, we'll go with Murray Chorneys. And number 5, non-farm rural, we have the 2 choices again, Ruwiki or Tonko. I'll start at this end, Glenn.
I'm not, again, familiar with Tonkos. I know for the past 2 weeks I've been going full-time every day at Wicky's place.
Okay. Dave?
Tomco's is like a park.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Dave?
Tonko.
Yeah.
Tonko?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sandra, sorry,
That's okay.
you're not in your spot.
I'm just gonna go with majority.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Councillor Spicer, was that first choice okay with you that we picked Murray Chorneys?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, and what about the second one, that so far the majority is for Tonko's?
Okay, so I have a clarification question. I got 3 names on here.
Oh, okay, you might have missed what our CAO said. Robert Boulanger asked that his name be removed from that competition.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's okay, so we're down to the 2, and the majority
Well,
is,
if your majority is Tonko, I'm fine with it.
okay, so then for number 5, it will be Tonko's. Go ahead, Councillor Strang, sorry.
That's okay. I was gonna say, what were you saying at the beginning, that you were gonna push the envelope?
Well, I
Moving
thought,
one of the other ones over?
maybe Marietta Rowicki would fit under category 6.
We can try, right?
Never
We're
heard
gonna
of
take it
try.
out, use Tom Coast for that one,
Yeah.
and there's there.
Okay, the suggestion's been made that we take Marietta Rowicki and put her into number 6 for best home grounds in an unincorporated urban center. And I guess my thought was Lockport is a kind of an urban center, and that's where she is, so let's try it.
Right on the edge. I don't know where we call boundary.
Well, I don't know exactly where the boundary is either, but I know, like, just south of their place is known as Goner, and I mean, to me, they're still in Lockport,
Yep, good suggestion.
so. Okay, so we'll go
I'm
with
good with
that.
My address is on her.
Councillor Spicer, did you say you're good with that, or was that another comment? Okay,
Yeah, I'm good with it.
thank you. Okay, so there's no resolution or anything needed, we'll just put those forward. So that takes us to 6.2 on the agenda, and that is beaches of 59, and I believe this was on the last agenda where they were looking for some grant money that they thought we owed them for last year, and I think Deepak has done some research on this.
Sorry, I'm just installing the batteries. Here, Councillor Spicer, better, the recording device just shut off.
We don't have to bring an IT for that, do we?
Well, we may be asking if this doesn't go in right away. There we go. Okay. Moving on to the beaches of 59. On this one, we had brought this forward last time, and the request was to verify whether this was $5,000 from previous commitments or not. And for further clarification, there was in 2019, which is the additional decision paper attached, there was a commitment of $10,000 budget, which was $5,000 for each municipality arm. Alexander had $5,000 from the arm St. Clements. Of that, $9,000 has been committed for development and printing, advertising costs, and so forth. And for this remaining year, $2,500 was put into the budget as part of the commitment for moving forward for 2020. And of that, so it's a total cost of $5,000 for this year, with $2,500 to the arm of Alexander and $2,500 to the arm of St. Clements. Arm of St. Clements has, as mentioned, budgeted this already. And so what this is seeking is approval of council to be able to expend those funds and transfer them over to the beaches of 59. further development and the work that they're doing today.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Horwath. Okay, can I have the resolution then, please?
Whereas in 2019, the Arm of St. Clements and the Arm of Alexander both contributed an equal $5,000 amount towards supporting Beaches of 59. And whereas the Arm of Alexander has agreed to commit an additional $2,500 for 2020, and whereas the Arm of St. Clements 2020 financial plan budgeted $2,500 to support the Beaches of 59, therefore be it resolved, Council continue to support the Beaches of 59 development process and commit an additional $2,500 for 2020.
Okay, Councillor Horwath moved that resolution. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? I guess the question is, this is out of our grant budget then, like it's not something different out of tourism or something, or is it part of the grants? I guess that's...
It would be part of the grant,
Grants,
so it would be
okay.
budgeted
Yeah.
as it was previously.
Okay, perfect. All right, we have a mover, we have a seconder, Councillor Strang.
Just for discussion, can we have an update on this for the amount of money that we're spending, like putting forward? Can we have an update of how they're progressing? Because I was at the meeting with a few of the mayor and a couple of the councillors and it is very interesting, but we'd just like to see where our money's going. Because I know they were using it as a boulder for up there
Right.
to attract. And I know
Yes.
this is a hard time hit for tourism right now, so.
Well, it's a really hard time for tourism in all areas, and I think the beaches are worse than anywhere else right at the moment, and of the restaurants and things like that. So, yeah, administration will get an update from our economic development officer, because he's kind of the co-chair of it, so if we could get that, that would be great. Any other comments or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowan.
Just a comment, at a later date, we're gonna have to review our grant process because our VLP grant, I believe, will be down a bit next year.
Well, yeah, I guess it's based on the previous year, I believe, so, I mean, we will have to have a real hard look at grants, and I know that, you know, around this table, we talked about the amount of money that we do give out in grants, and we will have to revisit it. At one time, we just took grants out of the general coffers, and then when we started getting the VLT money, it was used solely for grants, and now that amount is much less than what we are giving away for grants. So we have to, you know, we have to take a really hard look at it, and I think that'll be a discussion for, I wouldn't even say wait till the budget for next year. I would say we should start discussing it this fall. So, Councillor Boulanger.
I know the conversation has come up a lot of times, and, you know, it's one of those things, you know, St. Clements doesn't have to follow what everybody else does, but it's important that St. Clements looks at what others are doing. We've always said that we've always given out more money, and which is, municipalities need to give out grants, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it would be nice to know what our neighbors are doing, Salford, St. Andrews, East St. Paul, West St. Paul. Quick question to those folks, what do you give out in grants every year? Then it gives us a good thumbnail as to where are we? Are we the lowest or the most? Because I know for a fact that St. Andrews doesn't give out anything near St. Clements. Not that we have, again, not that we have to follow their lead, but all I'm saying is it's good to know what our neighbors are doing and where we sit. That's where my head is.
Well, and I mean, if we look at some of our other neighbors, they don't give to anybody that's outside of their jurisdiction. So, I mean, do we? Yeah, we do, because we do give to other entities or entities that are not located in St. Clements, but there's still, we have residents that participate in certain events, like, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, but there are St. Clements residents that do participate outside of the municipality. And, you know, if somebody is looking for a grant, yeah, I'm the same way. I feel that we should give. It's maybe how much do we give? So that'll be a topic of discussion for another day. And if I remember correctly, we do have a resolution on the table. I have a mover and I have a seconder. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so now the next two, 6.3 and 6.4, 4, they were added, I guess, a little bit later. They weren't on the original agenda, I don't believe, but Greg has got the information to DPAC and they were placed on the agenda for council's consideration. So the first one is the Public Works asphalt contract.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first one is for the asphalt contract, and speak specifically to it. As you know, we fix various asphalt roads and overlays and repair these areas with asphalt overlays for new culverts installations, as well as for just general patching and repair of spots. And so there's been an RFP process gone out where we've sought bid tenders, and we received them from 5 particular companies. They're listed on the decision paper. The lowest by a significant amount is Wintec, and the administration has verified that these numbers are in fact true and correct. And based on those recommendations, the administration is recommending, the Public Works manager is recommending that we authorize Wintec as our supplier for asphalt patching at $165 per ton plus taxes, and asphalt overlays of $185 per ton plus applicable taxes. Comparably, as you can see, the price per ton for excavated overlay is significantly lower than everyone else, while the per ton on just regular overlay is consistent with most of the other applications. With that, we have a recommended resolution for council.
Go ahead, Councillor Borges.
Move it.
Okay, let's have the resolution, and then if there's any further discussion, we'll go over it at that time.
Resolved that council accept the recommendation of Public Works Manager authorizing the CAO to award the asphalt patching to Wintec for $165 per ton plus applicable taxes for asphalt overlays, and $185 per ton plus applicable taxes for excavated asphalt overlays, estimated at $64,600 plus GST, to complete the asphalt patching within the allotted budget.
Okay, Councillor Borges moves it, Councillor Bazarovich is second. Any further discussion? Councillor Spicer?
I was moving.
Okay, I have a mover and a seconder, so any comments from anybody? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 6.4 is the crack sealing. Again, that's Public Works, and that's a contract for the crack sealing, and I think we do have a decision paper, and I'll ask our administrator to go over that, please.
Similar, as you know, we do yearly crack sealing roads, usually specified annually. This year, we invited 3 bidders and received only 1 quotation. The estimated amount of the work is 16,866 lineal meters. This is a price per unit, and which is subject to actual work completed, and therefore could be higher or lower, but we will be staying within the allotted budget. The contractor is using material that meets our specifications, and at this time there are no other companies that do this crack sealing. So to give a comparison, last year the price per lineal foot was $2.89 per lineal meter, and this year it's $2.99, so within reasonable numbers. And so the recommendation from the administration of the Public Works Manager recommends awarding the crack seal to SM Industries for $2.99 per meter, plus applicable taxes, estimated at about $50,000, $429.34 plus GST, and complete all required crack seal within allotted budget.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, seconder. Councillor Spicer. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Just a comment, I'm surprised that the others didn't put in bids. We've used LMF Lightning in the past, and we're really happy with their work, and they, a lot of work. And so, I don't know why they didn't bid.
From my understanding, they were busy this year. There was a lot of other work happening, and I think that's why they didn't put the bid in. And this has been a sort of a unique year for everyone. I think
Yeah.
even just getting themselves started up
Right.
to accommodate when they were able to go out there and do the work. And I think startup costs and implications are also probably a factor in here.
Well, and it could be, you know, that they might have got a bigger contract, say with the province or even out of province somewhere to do crack sealing on major highways and things like that. So, you know, I mean, yeah, we had that LMF Lightning and they were really good and we were all very pleased with their work and, you know, how they left the sites and things like that. So it's just one of those things. But any other comments or queries? I have a mover, I have a seconder. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I didn't read the resolution. I just made the recommendation. I'm sorry.
Oh,
There was a mover.
sorry. I thought you had read the recommendation. Go ahead.
I read the recommendation, but not the resolution.
Okay.
Resolved that council accept the recommendations of the Public Works Manager authorizing the CA to award the asphalt contract sealing to SM Industries for $2.99 per meter plus applicable taxes, estimated at $50,000, $429.34 plus GST, and complete all the required crack seal within the allotted budget.
Okay, so we did have Councillor Sutherland move that and Councillor Spicer seconded it. So now I'll try this again. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 6.5 is one of our additions, and that's the discussion on Balsam Harbor.
Just a reminder, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if anyone doesn't see it on the list, please refresh your screen.
Right, I have it on mine, so, yeah. Okay, so basically this came up this morning and we don't have a lot of information on it. I know that Councillor Horbus got some calls and Councillor Sutherland knows a little bit about it, as does Councillor Boulanger. So, Councillor Sutherland, what have you got for that one?
Well, I had a call from a resident,
Okay,
George Walker,
okay,
and he concerns because there's a lot of fishermen down there and they were going in people's backyards
okay.
for, you know what,
Yeah, yeah,
and
Little report.
garbage all over the place. So he had kind of asked if we could, I know we had washrooms there in the winter time for the ace fishermen, if we could put some washrooms there and some garbage cans. It was great, quite a problem. Fishing's very well and good, and there's a lot of people fishing.
well, see, but that, and I have no problem with it, and I know that we have done that in the past, but I guess the next thing is gonna be is the parking on the roads.
Yeah, well,
You know, we know what the parking, what the vehicles are like there, and sometimes you can barely get through there with a vehicle, and if an emergency vehicle had to get down there, they might not even be able to get through if there's vehicles parked on both sides of the road. So that's another thing that we may have to look at. Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
We had talked not long ago, I think this council remembers, we were actually throwing the idea around of finding a little parking lot or making a little parking lot, nothing spectacular, but remember we were looking at a little bush area that we would either, it was ours, and we were just gonna, it would certainly keep the traffic off the road. I think that's something we may have to look at sooner than later.
Right.
Haul some rock from the local area, do it as frugal as possible.
Well, I think we have to ask administration to do some research on that. Go ahead, Councillor Horbus.
Weren't we looking at that property that we were exchanging with Thomas there? We were gonna use some of that buffer land there, about putting some kind of a parking lot along there. But I guess the problem was that the trees, there wouldn't be as much buffer anymore, or whatever, we would take some of it down
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to do something there. It's like, it's bad.
So, what was the request, like just generally garbage containers and porta potties?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Garbage, and then when I did get that call, I called Rob to ask him about the garbage, so he said, and then he said this morning that they were gonna bring some garbage barrels down there. If we do take some there too, we should go down to that Begonia beach that goes straight there.
There's a couple
There is-
locations
yeah.
that we were looking at, and Operation Cleanup would go there. I mean, the whole role of Operation Cleanup is we clean the shores of the Red River, which the garbage eventually ends up in Lake Winnipeg. We're trying to mitigate that.
right,
So why wouldn't we put some barrels at those key locations to keep the garbage out of Lake Winnipeg?
right. And I know, I guess it was last fall, when Councillor Sutherland and I had taken a bit of a tour, we went into Beconia Beach, and there were 2 porta potties there at that time. And there were some garbage containers, so we'll have to look at something. I noticed that Colleen had her hand up, so if you could please, Colleen, go ahead.
I was just going to mention Balsam Harbor is a federal harbor. Would we not be able to send a request to work with the harbor authority, or if they could take some responsibility? Because it is a big ticket. Council does question it every year when we get the bill for the porta potties. So this is additional cost, which is great. We want to make sure the people that live there are looked after. But perhaps the harbor authority should be notified that there are concerns from our municipal residents.
Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Colleen is right. It is, as we all know, a federal harbor. Mr. Thomas, I forget his first name, was the harbor master there at one point. It would be nice for administration to make contact with somebody other than him higher up in the harbor authority. As we all know, the harbor was there for commercial fishermen. That was the whole intent of it. That's why it was developed. That's why it was fixed up and beautified. However, the fishing for tourism is very good there as well. So it's almost a double thing that's happening there. They're taking advantage of the beautiful area, the beautiful boat ramp. But that's exactly how it should be, is the harbor should have a pitch in this paying for some of what's happening there.
Okay, so any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor Horace.
I guess the misconception here is too, for the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a contractor there. And the contractors had public washrooms there because it's part of their contract, they have to. And now the residents and everybody else thinks that we were supplying those washrooms there, so they're expecting them to be there. And they're not there this year because the contractor's finished and he's gone. So that's why people are, whatever, but it's not really, it's not as bad as what they're saying, but everybody always says that because they want something done about it. So.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that we haven't heard from the resident that lives right there. Go ahead, Colleen.
I can actually confirm that Tyler is working with residents in the area about this exact issue.
Okay, so maybe we can have a short discussion, and I know it was also brought up before the meeting, is we do have a lot of rentals for porta potties, both summer and winter, and perhaps it's time that we looked at purchasing some of our own. The question then arises is who looks after them? So perhaps if we can find some information out, if we could if we purchased them, or if we got a contractor to do it. I believe, Councillor Corbis, did you have a conversation with somebody on that, or?
Yeah, I had a conversation with that Eric's Waste, and I had asked him if he'd be interested in doing a proposal to supply a year-round service if he purchased the porta potties. If we had said how many we wanted and what locations they would be at, and we put them in some locations in the summertime and then in the winter. So I was wondering if DPAC could give me the information on what, or administration could give me how much we pay for the porta potty every year? Like what it costs us to do that every year?
I could certainly look at bringing that forward to council for, as information to share, that then it can be made publicly available as to what we spend, and then it makes it available for you to have that discussion with them. If council wants to give me direction, I can certainly look at exploring that as well for council. I think we should also take into consideration that there may be some new requirements coming with porta potties due to COVID-19 that we need to take into consideration as part of these ongoing costs, because I think there's an expectation for, especially if it's a municipality putting those porta potties out there for public use, as to what level of cleanliness we will have. So that might require some review and discussion on this. Do we, if we get into this kind of business, what kind of implications will it have for us, cost-wise and labor-wise?
Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Belanger, and Councillor Strang.
I think we still currently, that we, at our transfer stations, I know we did buy the porta potties. I mean, there's nothing wrong with us, even for the winter time, just buying them and then we have somebody service them. There's nothing wrong with that idea. Because we currently, I believe, unless we've changed, I can't remember, but we did have our own porta potties at the transfer stations. I'm not sure, I don't think it changed. But, you know, that's what we've done in the past.
Right, yeah. But now, you know, I mean, we're looking at probably, I don't know, I would think at least a dozen now if we were going to put them in the prime locations. Because you'd probably have to have 2 at each location. And then with, you know, with what our administrator is saying with the new rules for COVID-19, like, you know, do we have to have somebody, I'm going to say on staff that has to do them, clean them regularly, like on a daily basis? You know, I don't, that's some of the unknowns that we have to look into at this point in time, so. Councillor Belanger.
Just for a historical background, we all know that this floor of this council has suggested that we look for partners in some of those washrooms. It was suggested to our previous administration that that's where we wanted to go, but I think in their view, it was they were looking at a bigger picture of sponsorship in the area. That request never did come forward, but I think it's important that someone approaches the casino, which it was brought up, that if they'd be willing to sponsor a couple of them. We all know that that casino is full and rocking and rolling during tourism season, both in the fall for hunters and in the summer for fishermen. There's a lot of money to spend there, and they are very nice people to work with. They have donated to causes with us before. So I would ask that someone from the administration currently get a hold of the casino for the summer of 2020 and ask somebody there, I think we have a contact name there, and ask that they, if they're interested in promoting or helping us keep that waste off the shorelines, and remake the pitch to them that the hotel is used by a lot of users. And I'm convinced that they will provide some funds for those toilets.
Go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
And also, we should approach waivers. They do big business with all the fishermen, especially in the wintertime and the summertime. They all stop there for their bait and everything like that to contribute. We should also ask a couple of the businesses in Grand Marais, like the store there and the hotel there. They benefit from all that. They're always looking for ways for us to help them. And now here's a chance for them to support and help to develop this. Whatever it is, any contribution would be accepted. Like their name on the washroom or something like that. And they sponsor each one. Even if it's the initial purchase of that washroom and then we service it or whatever. That, you know, those washrooms are like $750 a piece, I think.
Sandra and then Glenn. Sandra,
I was just going to chime in and say exactly what Councillor Belanger said about that. We had brought that up to the table before. The other thing that our CAO mentioned was about the COVID, and is it that they quit the contract there right now, being a federal park, that they just, with COVID on, that they aren't renewing that contract too before we spend money, that,
No, I think why
they
there
just
was
put
why there was a contract there is they were redoing the dock there. They were doing some work on the dock and the shoreline there, so they had a crew there working. There was a contract for.
I just thought with COVID, maybe
Yeah.
they pulled it
No,
out and that was it.
yeah.
Because who knows what the new stipulations are
Right.
gonna be, but.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor.
We also had a conversation before the Lockport. We have a lot of businesses there, and we have a lot of people.
So I think if I'm hearing everyone correctly, I think we should be directing administration to do some research on the cost in various locations. And I would have to say there's probably at least a half a dozen, if not 8 locations. And also on sponsorship or a contribution to help us to keep the shoreline clean, to keep the garbage off the shoreline, to keep people from not trespassing on private property when they're out fishing. Anything else that we need our administration to look into at this point in time?
Just the federal.
Yes, and check with the feds to see if there would be some cost sharing, especially at Balsam Harbor, because it is their dock.
I think Harry's still the guy that to go to, yeah.
Bill,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Bill.
yeah. Go ahead.
Just one additional point. I think there was a request previously on down Ferry Road, and there was a comment that the province had some stake in those lands as well. So maybe I can approach both federal and provincial to see if there's any
On
Sure.
Ferry Road or on the road into Selkirk where the hydro property is?
where the hydro property is.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there's a gazillion fishers there.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Plum.
Again, just for background for our CAO, Manitoba Hydro has been a partner with Red River Operation Cleanup for as long as the program has been in existence, over 2 decades. With all their cutbacks, Manitoba Hydro, one of the project's original partners, has dropped out. So currently, right now, we have some talks going on very high up at Hydro. I know some contacts, other people know some contacts. We're trying to get Hydro to come back as a partner because the garbage we take out of Hydro Park is literally atrocious. Right now, we're not cleaning it because they dropped out. I've explained to them that for the $3,000 they give, the amount that they get out of it is massive. So on your note of porta potties in that area, I'd be hard pressed. They'd be hard pressed to find money or even want to take part if they've already dropped out on my project. That's the point I'm making. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we have that one kind of looked after. We've given direction to bring some information back to us. I know it's kind of there's lots of pieces to it, so we'll have to give administration an opportunity to have a look at that, so. Okay, so if we want to move on, the next one we have is our fire ban, and I think Councillor Spicer brought that up. Is there any update, and I think this is what he's looking for, update from the fire departments regarding the fire ban, seeing as we had some rain on the weekend, not a whole lot, at my house anyways. Go ahead.
I think Councillor Spicer, can you hear me, Councillor Spicer?
Yes?
Okay, I think you asked to bring this forward.
Yeah, no, I just, kind of going along with the mayor's thoughts there. Just, asking administration to have another discussion with the fire chief. And, I anticipate after the weekend, we're gonna be getting questions on whether the ban is staying on or off, so that's kind of why I just brought it on. And, you know, you're right, I mean, maybe some parts of the RM got more rain than others, so.
Good points, Madam Mayor and Councillor. I recently just talked with one of the fire chiefs last week, and he said that they would be reviewing regularly. I'll bring it up as a discussion point again this week and see where they stand.
Go ahead,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Bazaro.
I had a conversation with the fire chief of the South End yesterday, and he's going to be talking with the other chiefs and see what the different areas of the RM. And sent and directed to mayor or CAO.
Another comment to make, this year was the first year that we authorized them to do fire bans specifically to certain areas where it was felt that the northern part of the community was not at risk as much as the southern part this year, and until all of the community was affected. But there may be an opportunity to do that. In the past, it's always been all or nothing as a fire ban, so maybe we have some flexibility this year. And I'll talk to them about that as well.
Yeah, and I don't know, how much rain was received in certain areas, but I know at home here, we only got 0.6 of an inch. So, I mean, to me, that's not a whole lot of rain. And, it's damp in the garden, but it's by no means is it, I don't know, I can't talk for the fire departments, but I don't believe that for this area anyways, that was enough rain to lift the fire ban, so. But if administration checks with the fire chiefs this week, that'd be great. Any other comments? Go ahead, Glenn.
Just might want to wait until after tomorrow, supposed to hit again.
Yeah. Anybody else, any comments? Okay, so to close this one off, I think we're just going to wait and see what our fire chiefs say, and if there is any change, I am sure that administration will let us know, and if we need to lift the fire ban, then we can do so toward the end of the week, or leave it in place in certain areas, or in place in the whole municipality. So we'll just leave it at that, and we'll await some further information. Okay, so we are now down to number 7, which is the accounts.
Just-
Oh,
Just
Go
one more
ahead.
comment on the fire ban. In the article of Broken Head, they lifted the ban on like backyard pits, but not the big field burning.
right. Well, I think ours never did not allow in your approved fire pits.
Ours always allows in approved fire pits.
Right.
Well, that was another question. What is approved?
Go ahead, Colleen.
There's a very good description on our website, and our bylaw also describes it, but Brett's done a really good job with describing it on the website. So if anybody has questions, definitely direct them there.
Well, one of the reasons I bring that up is I had a commercial fire pit for ever and ever, but it was never stamped or approved or nothing. It's just what I used, and I still have the same pit.
Well, and I think part of it, and I don't know, I did read that, the one that's on the website, but I don't recall exactly how it's worded, but I think that some of them have to have like a cover that you can put on it, if I remember correctly.
A mesh covering, so
Yeah,
that your sparks and flames.
Yeah.
Like I believe you guys have a council screen. Yeah, I didn't know about the screen, but you had to have the Barkerman or Barkman, and that would be a commercial pit, but whether you have a screen or not, it's another thing.
Well, I think that's the big thing, is you have to have that screen in order for it to be like an authorized pit.
Spark arrestor.
Yeah, so. Okay, if we could move on to the accounts, the closed list of accounts ending June the 9th, there should be a resolution, and Deepak, if you could please read it for us.
Resolved, council approved the June 9th, 2020 list of accounts, check numbers 202010492, 20201216 in the amount of $471,819.24 for payment.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horbis, second, Councillor Belanger. Any discussion, questions, queries? Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I just have a question on all the fire departments. Just want to ask, I see that they have High Speed Crow and they have Shaw. And when they have item paid by check, or an item paid by the Visa card, is that still two separate payments too?
Colleen is saying yes, it is.
Okay. I just noticed there's duplicate ones on here, so.
Yeah. And I had a couple of questions too, and I think it was to do with the listings at the end of the list of accounts. I know we always used to get the Visa one, but I noticed that we have like two different lists there now, and I'm not sure what the purpose of them at the back of the list of accounts is. And that's the master phone bill list and MTS mobility master list. Seasonal phone list and Manitoba Hydro. Like, is there a reason that those have now been added in there? Go ahead, Colleen.
I can only speak to the fact that those are management tools. I'm not sure if direction was given for them to be attached to the closed list or not. Okay.
Was it?
We'll
We can
check.
find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just, you know, I know that the information is available, and if council ever did have a question on, you know, how much are our cell phones costing us, the information is readily available, and I just didn't know why it would have been put on here as part of the list.
Let's find out.
Okay. Anything else on the list of accounts? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we have one grant that we're going to talk about today, and that's the Selkirk District Community Foundation, and I believe that there is a decision paper there, and Deepak, if you wanted to just go over that for us, please.
Specifically, the RM had put $1,000 to support the annual grant reception that occurs, but unfortunately due to COVID, and the reception was canceled. The Selkirk District, the Selkirk District Community Foundation is requesting that the RM continue their support by reauthorizing those funds to have $500 towards publication of their general information brochure that they provide, as well as $500 towards the endowment fund for the St. Clements Endowment Fund. And that would be the way that they would use the $1,000 that was originally approved for costs associated with the grant reception.
Okay, any questions, comments? I think we have a resolution to authorize paying that.
Whereas council committed $1,000 to the Selkirk District Community Foundation annual grant reception, and whereas the annual reception is canceled due to COVID-19, therefore be it resolved, council approve the Selkirk District Community Foundation 2020 annual grant reception grant be redirected to Selkirk District Community Foundation community report publication of $500, Selkirk and District Community Foundation St. Clements Endowment Fund of $500.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bezrowicz, second Councilor Strang. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the bylaws, and we have 3 bylaws that we're going to be going over today for second and third reading, and our bylaw officer is going to speak to those. But before we get into that, I would like to take a 5-minute recess. Colleen? Okay, we are back and we now have our bylaw enforcement officer going to present on our bylaws that we're going to be considering a little bit, or we'll have the resolutions as we go along here. So the first bylaw we have is number 6 of 2020, and that's the animal control bylaw, and it is for second and third reading. Is that the order that you wanted to do them, or do you want to do the general enforcement first?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If it's okay with council, what we've done is we've created a presentation to walk through all the bylaws together, and then council can then come, because they're somewhat interrelated. So what we wanted to do was discuss, the first thing we wanted to discuss was the general enforcement bylaw, so that it gives clarity as to what we're working with. And then talk about the other two bylaws, because they take advantage of the general enforcement bylaw.
Okay, so we have Tyler with us, and he's going to go through the bylaws, and as our CAO has explained, we're going to do the general enforcement one first, as the other two kind of, there's things in the general enforcement one that are used in the other two, so we'll go over that one first of all. Go ahead, Tyler.
So, as Deepak was saying, our general enforcement bylaw, if you were to look at it, it's like a big umbrella. So it's going to be our big brand new bylaw that really lays out all the procedures, inspections, fines, remedies, how we collect, and basically lays it all out and gives you step by step, and is all extremely clear now, how many days for inspection and everything like that's laid out. The bylaws that also are coming into effect, animal control and noise, will kind of be quoted into this. So when I'm having to issue a fine, it's quoting the general enforcement bylaw. And if we don't want to issue a fine, we have the authority under the general enforcement bylaw to seize or go in and, you know, remedy contravention right away. So the big positives with this general enforcement bylaw is, one, the clarity and the efficiency with the protocols and procedures. And it really is clear with the municipality's authority and with the municipal act and dealing with the various violations and orders. And it walks you through the inspections, it runs over dangerous and unsighted properties, and the notices are in this, the contraventions of the fines, everything is laid out in this enforcement bylaw.
Question?
Go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
Tyler, under the general enforcement bylaw, is there a process if someone wanted to plead not guilty and we would utilize the provincial court system, or how does that work?
This would be us, so if I issued some sort of fine or a cleanup order, if they do have the right to appeal, and it would come in front of council.
Okay, so we would be sort of the judge and jury.
Right.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Deepak.
Just to comment on any order issued after council has made this decision, there's always an opportunity for someone to take it to court. That's always an option available, always.
Okay, Tyler, go ahead.
That's pretty much it for the enforcement bylaw.
Okay.
So if we go on to our next one, which is the animal control bylaw, a couple of key notes. What happened with this current animal control bylaw that we're giving second and third reading is we added a couple different things, and just to be clear, we added the residential zoning, so that's now included. Section 7 of the animal control bylaw is new. It's in regards to impoundment and quarantine for bites and or rabies observation. Section 9(1)A, we changed and modified that. It used to be a daily fee, but we never really had that fee legitimate, and or it was never really used. So we just basically changed it to the fee of the whole impound cost. So if we get a vet bill for a week, it's a week. It's not trying to split up between 1, 2, 3 days. And sections 8, 10, 11, and 12 are also brand new, and that's dealing completely with dangerous animals. So that's the big push for this bylaw, is to incorporate that and not to just be specific on one type of animal or breed. It covers everything across the board. And then again, when we want to enforce, section 16 of the bylaw is quoting and relaying you back to our general enforcement bylaw. So the general enforcement bylaw will allow us to, like I said, fine, seize, or enter a property. The animal control bylaw is the same, you know, at section 16, we're able to enforce because of this bylaw. We have the discretion to go whichever route we want to go. And that's everything new with the animal control bylaw.
I guess the key points there are the new sections regarding dangerous animals.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Go ahead, Councillor Vassar-Roach.
We're doing, what are we doing, the second and third reading. We had a resident that started this, let's say. He had the incident. A few times he's requested an update on this. After today, can we make sure he gets notified of it?
Well, if it is passed today, we certainly can probably, I'm sure he's been in touch with you, Tyler. I know that I've had a couple of emails, not recently, but the ones that I did get from him, I just forwarded to Tyler because he was the one that was looking after it, and we all knew that the bylaw was going to be amended. So I've kind of steered the resident in that direction to speak with Tyler, so, because it would come from administration or Tyler, a copy of the bylaw, if that's what he's looking for.
And I have spoken with both him and his wife multiple times. And the last time I spoke with his wife and was very clear with the direction.
Right.
So they know this is coming. One thing I was very clear with them that we weren't specifically targeting a breed, that was their mentality.
Yes.
And I steered them away from that and explained why we can't do that, and they were happy with this. So
Okay.
they know they're expecting a phone call from me once this is passed.
Okay.
Cool.
Deepak and then Councillor Borges.
Just for clarification, Madam Mayor, when we received these bylaws for first reading, a communication was set up on our website so that all residents were, as well as our Facebook, so we try to be as active as possible to let everybody know these bylaws were coming, and they had an opportunity today to come in and present or provide any comments. If they don't, once council passes them, of course, they'll become official bylaws. We'll post it on our websites again, and if specific people need to be notified, we will notify.
Thank you for that. Councillor Borges.
Feedback answered.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna go on our website,
Yep.
so it's,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anybody else? Anything? Okay, keep on
Sandra.
down. Oh, sorry, Sandra.
I know our last meeting that Councillor Vassar-Roach brought up about, just about the amounts of animals on certain zoned areas
Right,
that was gonna be checked into. I
okay.
don't know if if anything was done with that for certain zone areas that the planning board uses for,
Right, like if you're in the RS zone, how many animals can you have? Like, I mean, are we talking though, this is specifically to do with, it does say animal, but it's more for dogs,
dogs and cats.
dogs and cats.
Like the dangerous animal section?
Well, no, the bylaw in general.
Yeah, the bylaw in general is pushing for that direction, but zoning, like the Red River Planning does enforce all that zoning, and they have all that written down, what kind of animals you're allowed per residential AR 840, everything is in the zoning bylaw. So if we have a property in question, we could run it really quick and look at the zoning bylaw, and it'll tell us right then and there.
I'm just thinking some of ours, we have that we're going down into 2-acre lots and
Yeah.
having a 3 and 3 that you have 6 animals. And some of them that are even going smaller as we get into the areas with sewer. I don't know, that's just one of my, sort of one of my concerns.
Okay,
Yeah,
Colleen
so-
did have her hand up, so maybe she has a bit of an explanation for us. So go ahead, please, Colleen.
Our bylaw is more specific to domestic. We do not take into consideration livestock. So the zoning bylaw is more specific to liquid waste units, referencing livestock. So that's where the zoning bylaw would come in. When we had the conversation at the last meeting, council confirmed you wanted 3 dogs and 3 cats, like to have that ability for all of the zones considered within this bylaw.
So then what you're saying is that if you had 2 acres, you could have 3 cats and 3 dogs.
As long as you fall within the zones that are quoted within our bylaw, which is pretty much the south end. Because once you get north of the south end, other than the village, you're in AR, or pardon me, A40, A80 zones. But this also applies up to the beaches, like the SR zones. So this is for smaller parcels, let's call it that.
I think Tyler is looking something up there. Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
In the south end and the GD, we still have sheep, we have goats, we have horses, people have cats, people raise chickens. And this is what I was targeting, is, like, I'm all for it, like, the conversation was last year, that when we changed the zoning, that people would be grandfathered into this. And they still have the fencing, they still have their barns, and they still have their animals.
Well, I guess in the GD, I can't recall what the number of acres you need to have in
Well,
the
it's
GD.
2 acre lots, and that's what they've got, that's.
Well, Deepak and then Councillor Belanger.
The GD is an overlay district, as I recall, and we're at the base zoning district. The GD allowed a certain level of subdivision to occur. If you have, if you were in the previous zoning, and the zoning allows you to have livestock, then you're allowed. If you want to have chickens on your property, if the zoning allows it, you're allowed to have it. This deals specifically with cats and dogs that are identified 3 and 3. It doesn't identify chickens. If that becomes an issue for the future, council always has the opportunity to review bylaws and amend them as necessary.
Okay, thank you for that, Deepak. Councillor Belanger, you had your hand up.
No, I think he answered my, Mr. Administrator answered my question. I just wanted to make sure, as Councillor Vasarovich said, is the folks that bought properties years ago and developed them, that if something new comes along and curtails them from having their chickens or a few whatever, that they're for sure grandfathered into it. So I just wanted to make sure that.
Okay, Colleen.
There was, at the meeting, Derek was here and Haven. So what was supposed to happen in those south ends was that Red River Planning was going to somehow provide notification that the people in those areas were to apply for a pre-existing approval.
That's right.
For farm, but the people have to apply. It is not a given that they're grandfathered. All right, so
Makes
we
sense.
perhaps could talk to Red River Planning to ensure that that communication was provided, or they could give us some information so we could provide it to our residents. But just to clarify, they do need to apply for that and have it recorded on their file.
Councillor Horvis, I believe, had his hand up, and then Councillor Bazarowicz.
So if I'm grandfathered in and I'm living there and I'm on 2 acres and I build a little barn, I got a horse and a sheep or whatever, and then I sell, and somebody's coming in and they want to buy the stream, it's gone because you were grandfathered, or do they buy the dream?
But is the property grandfathered or is the person?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm cutting in on.
normally it would be the property. No, normally it would be the person that's grandfathered in.
It's a use.
But I mean, you have this infrastructure, like you have a barn, you build it, costs so much money, do you know what I mean, sort of thing?
Yeah.
And you have all this here, and now you're getting older, you retire, and some young couple comes out, they want a horse, or, you know,
Yeah.
it's- I don't think that's fair.
We can follow up on that to determine what are the implications of giving this permission as an additional permission.
Right. Councillor Bazarowicz.
What Colleen was speaking of was 100% accurate. However, I had and have been asking for that application for, I don't know, over a year now that we talked about this, and there's nothing available as of yet, to my knowledge.
So who are you asking for it? The
I was talking to
municipality
Jennifer.
or the planning board?
Jennifer?
So the planning board. Okay. Deepak is making a note, I see, so he will get a hold of Jennifer and follow up on that part of it. There could be just some misunderstanding between the municipality and RRPD, so Deepak will look at that part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so you are done with the animal control bylaw. Anybody else have anything? Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
So the next bylaw was the noise. There wasn't too many major changes. We fine-tuned some of the definitions, and we wanted to just bring the noise bylaw up to par with the way it's laid out and the instructions, again, to avoid any confusion or misconception with our bylaws. It all has to be laid out. That was one of the things we changed. Another thing we changed throughout the bylaw was removing the CAO from being the sole contact to make the calls. So opposed to somebody wanting to make an exception with the bylaw or want to have a wedding and have noise going on, it would come through council opposed to just the CAO. That was changed, and then again, the fining process changed from our old bylaw into this, which again quotes the enforcement bylaw and gives you an opportunity to fine up to $1,000 if we see fit, or seize equipment if we also see fit. So one of the things from our last noise bylaw was the way it was structured was there was 3 levels of fines for noise. There was $100 for your first offense, $200 for your second, and $500 for your third and any subsequent offense after that. My mentality is we would have the same motive with the new bylaw. If we were to deal with a property for the first time, we would still set it at something low to give them a small fine, and then again, we would have the discretion to bump it up if it keeps happening. But this one allows us to bump it up to 1,000 if we choose to. But again, that would be, I would say, the worst case scenario. It's not the plan of the bylaw, it just gives us that authority to do so if we choose so.
Okay, any questions or comments on the noise one? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So just a clarification question that I'm not sure if it's for Tyler or Deepak or both. So are we looking at a separate fines bylaw that coincides with the enforcement bylaw? Or is it right in the enforcement bylaw? Because we've got these two bylaws, but we might want to fine for parking in a no parking area or something. You know, there's other bylaws that we could be levying fines on. So I'm just wondering how that process works.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think we all heard you. Tyler or Deepak, did you want to comment on that one? I think what Scott is looking for is if we're going to eventually have a fine bylaw. Is that correct, Scott?
That's correct.
Go ahead.
Yes, Councillor, we can certainly look at that. What we've done to date is the general enforcement bylaw lays out authority that's already been given that exists under the Municipal Act. It lays it out clearly and how to enforce it. Then what we've introduced is the 2 bylaws that take advantage of that authority and then allows the flexibility to be able to use up to the maximum fines that the Municipal Act allows the municipality to do. Tyler will continue to follow process and procedures that are long-standing process and procedures in fining as we move forward. Now, as council wants to do a review, and I think I've discussed this with you, is that we could also look at introducing a new fines bylaw that lays out fines on a regular basis that council can review that are all the fines, not necessarily just associated with noise and animal control, but fines related with parking, fines related with any other contravention of any other bylaws, and put them all into one location. That's going to require a much more detailed analysis, but we can certainly look at moving forward in that direction if council so wishes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess I guess I will ask the question, is that something that council wants to delve into right at the present time, or should we just go the way we have been going as far as the enforcement and levying of fines is concerned, and perhaps later on this year look at a fines bylaw, or do you want to look at something like that at the present time? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Present time, I think we should just deal with what we have on the table and move on.
Okay, anybody else? I guess go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
I guess I need to ask Tyler and Deepak that question, like, are they comfortable at this moment with what we're moving forward, that they can do what they need to do, and we can deal with the fines bylaw later?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I would say we are comfortable with it. In the big picture, what I had a plan to do over, a year or so was to start bringing our most needed bylaws up to par, and the ones that we would need to be able to enforce now. The noise bylaw was going to be one of them, and animal control. Down the road, we would start incorporating the other ones, like a non-truck route bylaw. We can redo our parking bylaw and our unsightly bylaw. The reason why these ones are on the table right now is because we might see issues with the noise right now. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this in front of council and have it passed. The animal control will cover us for now and forever. If anything were to happen, we have another issue coming forward, potentially, is this unsightly properties. In the past, I've been able to be fairly successful with dealing with unsightly properties verbally, so that one might not make it into our peak seasons here, but it would be rolled out for next year kind of thing. So the ones that we're going to be bringing forward are the ones that we need now and we can work with now.
Okay, well, I would suggest then that, we go ahead with these and then work on the fines bylaw later, along with the other ones.
Okay, thank you for that, and I guess that was, I was going to chirp in, and that's basically what I was gonna say, the ones that are needed to be, or the ones that needed to be looked at immediately have been done, and if there are others that need to be looked at, or we need to look at a fine bylaw, I think that could be something that would be looked at probably perhaps in the fall or during the winter for, for safer spring of next year to be brought forward for passing, and a fines bylaw, if that's the way council chooses to go, and that can be worked on over the winter and be in place for next spring.
Yeah, just one more thing with the fines and the bylaw is all of our existing bylaws do have a fining process in them. And with the new bylaws, we're going to be mirroring that. We're not just going to say, okay, now it's a new bylaw, I'm going to fine you $1,000 every time. Like, we're going to be working from the old mentality and moving it forward, so that'll be my discretion going forward. And if we want to up it a bit, we can talk about that and go from there. But for now, we'll just flow with the existing numbers as best as we can.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have anything on the 3 bylaws that we're going to be looking at today? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer, sorry.
Just a suggestion, it might be better to take all of the fines out of all of the bylaws and put it into a fine bylaw. Because then, if we do want to change the fines, we're only changing one bylaw.
Okay, I think
Animal and noise and.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think Deepak wants to speak to that one, so Deepak, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Councillor. That would be the direction as Tyler's laid out. The current 2 bylaws don't lay out the fines within them directly. They refer to the general enforcement bylaw, which gives us the authority to do the fining and what the maximum fines are. We're following the process that's been established in the past. Once we get all the bylaws switched over to referring to the general enforcement bylaw, then it makes sense to bring in a fines bylaw to have all the fines in one location. Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the bylaws? Okay, then then if you have nothing else to share with us, Tyler, I'm going to ask Deepak to come back and we will do the 3 bylaws for second and third reading.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'll just do the share so Councillor Spicer can also see the agenda. There we go. Okay, so bylaw, the first bylaw is bylaw 6, animal control bylaw. Resolved, bylaw 6 of 2020 being an animal control bylaw be given second reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Belanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? And this is second reading on the animal control bylaw. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So now we will do third reading, and as we all know, for third reading, it is an automatic recorded vote. So if you could just please keep your hands up and make sure, so we make sure that Colleen has the information recorded. And go ahead, Deepak. Oh,
Resolved, bylaw 6 of 2020 being an animal control bylaw be read a third time.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Horvis seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had left those blanks where you saw a separate screen come up. Those bylaws for third reading were left blank, not knowing if we were going to have any citizens or any other input coming in on the second reading, at which point council may have made some decisions on making some changes, which would mean that we would have to make the changes and come back.
Okay, perfect. So now we're going to move on to number 6, or number 7 with the noise bylaw for second reading.
Resolved, bylaw 7 of 2020 being a noise bylaw be given second reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Bylaw number 7 for third reading.
Resolved, bylaw 7, 2020 being a noise bylaw be read a third time.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvis, second. Councillor Belanger. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that again is unanimous. Those against? No one. Bylaw number 8 of 2020, and that is the general enforcement bylaw for second reading. Go ahead, Deepak.
Resolved, bylaw 8 of 2020, general enforcement bylaw be given second reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And third reading for bylaw number 8.
Resolved, bylaw 8 of 2020, general enforcement bylaw be read a third time.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is passed unanimously for third reading. Okay, so we've done our bylaws, so now we're down to number 9 on our agenda, which is communication for information. And Councillor Bazarowicz and then Councillor Belanger.
If we're done with bylaws and Tyler's still here, can we have a conversation with Tyler before we move on?
What were you wanting to speak to him about?
Just,
Something on the agenda?
Nope, it's just that he's here and maybe he's got to go back to work. Are we gonna keep him here for the rest of this?
Councillor Belanger, what was your?
Well, I'm just gonna make a comment on
Okay.
something in the
Tyler, are you around for the next, I don't know, I want to say hour?
Yeah.
So just before we break for lunch, maybe we'll bring Tyler back in?
Okay. I can make, should I make a comment, Deepak?
Yes, please.
Okay, I just received confirmation from all three chiefs to instruct us to lift the ban.
Oh.
So that's good, that's why I ran back up here, just while we're all here.
Well, thank you very much
You're welcome.
for that, yeah, and we'll call you back up when we kind of get through part of this and we'll have a bit of a discussion, or do you want to do it now? To me, it really doesn't matter.
He's here.
Fire.
For the fire ban,
No, for whatever Councillor Bazarowicz wanted to speak to him about, like, I'm not sure if it's something that you're gonna bring up in open council, or if it's something that we should be discussing in camera, or...
It's not in camera.
okay, well, sure.
You okay?
I'm comfortable.
Is that okay with everybody? Tyler's here?
Yeah, he's here, why not?
Okay.
Just, if I may, it's just, I've had a conversation with Tyler before on this, and just wondering what an update on signage. We had a number of complaints, and again, I had a bunch of traffic held up there at the industrial park today. Signage there, and then there's some signage on Henderson Highway that I've had issues with. People are saying, how come some can have all the signage, others can't? How come some get fined, some don't? And just,
Well, is
a lot of that
that
is, I know it's province, but industrial park was something we were supposed to do.
And the letter has gone to the minister. So, and I haven't gotten a reply back.
What kind of signage are we talking about here?
Well, I'm not sure, like, I mean, to me, this
Home-based
is something,
business.
Yeah,
well, to me,
businesses.
this is something that maybe should be brought forward, like, as an agenda item. Like, we don't know who's been complaining or what they've been complaining about. So Tyler, can you enlighten us a little bit on this?
A little bit, with the IXL park there, with the letter from the minister, I guess we won't be able to do anything until we get clarification on that. Highways,
Well, I guess, what is it that you're wanting clarification on? Because what I wrote the minister about
okay,
was the speed
yeah,
on 44, and perhaps what can be done to slow the traffic, if there's could be a turning lane or whatever. If Councillor Bazarowicz is talking about signage, that's something totally different that I haven't talked to the minister
Okay.
about.
okay.
Go ahead, Deepak.
In regards to IXL Park, we are having a discussion with Gary later, and there was a process started for the signage, for the replacement of the sign at IXL Park. So we can fit that in at the in-camera discussion.
Okay.
Now, you said along Henderson Highway, what is the,
Personal businesses, home-based business.
well, that is something that should be directed to Tyler, and he will look after it.
And that's
Like-
why I'm asking now, why is here?
Yeah, so in the past, I've forwarded, I guess, a mass amount of complaints to the province to look at signs along Henderson Highway.
Right,
Through this COVID, getting in touch with them and getting them to enforce was a little bit of a challenge. The last time I had a conversation, and I will make a phone call today again, the people were gonna go out, look at everything and send their letters out. But every property, they would be basically having to measure what's allowed and what's not allowed, and they would be the ones completely enforcing. So I would have to just make a verbal phone call to see if I can get an update from them.
but it's my understanding that if you want to put a sign on a provincial road, there is a certain size limitation,
Right.
and if you're putting something bigger than what is allowed, or I'm not exactly sure if that's the correct wording, but I know that we've had applications come here through the Highway Traffic Board where we've had to approve whatever they're putting up along the highway. So I don't know if that has changed with the new Highways Act or not,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, my last conversation with one gentleman was he was gonna go out, measure them, issue the fines to, or the letters to have the signs removed to whoever was necessary. And I haven't been able to get in touch with him since, and it looks like the signs are the same. So I'll just have to make a phone call today,
Okay,
just
so,
for an update, right?
Yeah, and I think in some of these cases, it's better if we tell the resident to phone the office and speak to Tyler directly. Like to me, that is kind of an administrative thing. Like, I don't know how much we should be as members of council. I know people do phone us with complaints. I always either tell them to phone the office, or I just shoot it off to Tyler or Deepak, and then I don't contact that resident again. I've given it to the people that can deal with it, and I just leave it at that. So, any other comments?
Just on what you were talking about, traffic signs, I did get another complaint yesterday about speed on 44 that is coming into Lockport, and people do not slow down.
Well,
And again, that's the province, and
well,
the other signs, the province as well. Like, I had some resident that had his sign removed, was fined, and then had to buy a sign back from the highway.
and that's out of our jurisdiction.
Just saying, and then this is why they say, well, how come he can have it, I can't?
Well, I mean, there's lots of different reasons. He could have had an oversized sign, it could have been too close to the highway, it could have been, like we can't answer those questions. If you get a complaint like that, you should direct them back to highways. Like, we can't answer those.
And that's why I'm going with that.
I will send out another phone call, see if I can get anything, and if not, yeah, we'll have to get on the same page with that.
Okay, thank you. Did you have something, Councilor Forbes?
Yeah, I believe it was last meeting or the meeting before where you had mentioned that you had talked to the minister about the corner there, and you had said that they'd probably be putting traffic lights there.
I haven't, I
That
haven't,
was just your conversation. Did he put a timeline on that
No,
or anything?
no,
So
no.
it's,
But I know that another letter was sent to him on something totally different, which is on our agenda a little bit later that I'll talk about. And basically, he said, give me at least a couple of weeks to check into this. So I'll take a look at my letter that I did send him. I know I talked to him like I guess it was the day of our last council meeting. So the letter would have gone to him a couple of days later, so it's a couple of weeks. So I'll wait maybe till the end of this week, and if I don't hear anything, or if there's no letter to the office, then perhaps I'll give him a call back. But I guess the other thing is that with COVID and the way province is working and everything now, not everybody is in their offices, they're working from home, they're working from, wherever they can. Some people are there part-time. I know at the Ledge, they're there sporadically, they're not sitting, they won't be sitting again till the fall. So some of the ministers are in their offices, others aren't, so it's really it's hard to say where everybody is and when we'll get replies to our letters and things like that, but I will follow up with the minister.
they did make an announcement though that they were gonna start with infrastructure to try and boost the economy to get it going again, to try and inject some money. So maybe if you can just mention that we're waiting for, yeah, well, I mean, if you don't ask, you don't get. I mean, just kind of push them on that issue. When? Because then we could let these people know that we were told that they're gonna put traffic lights there, and then they can,
Yeah, we can't have that conversation with the residents, as you know, until we hear from the province. So like I say, I will wait till the end of the week, and if I don't hear from the minister, I will try and get a hold of him again. So, Deepak, did you have something you wanted to share?
Just any further discussions on this, I recommend going in camera, especially any dialogue the mayor has had with the minister.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else for Tyler, or is he able to get back to whatever he wanted to do? Go ahead.
What is the ETA for the ban to be actually lifted?
Pardon me?
When will the ban actually be lifted? Because I got like 5 or 10 phone calls returned about the ban. And I just like to give them the right stuff.
If Madam Mayor gives us permission, we can go back to the item of fire ban, and we've created a resolution for you to lift the fire ban, so that'll be effective immediately once we pass the resolution.
Okay, so if we go back to 6.6, which was kind of, we wanted the update on the fire ban, so if it's okay with council, I'll have Deepak read the resolution and we'll get that moving along, so Tyler can make his phone calls. Go ahead, Deepak.
Whereas confirmation has been received from all 3 fire chiefs that enough rain has been received and the fire ban can be lifted, therefore be it resolved, the fire ban within the RM of St. Clements be lifted effective immediately.
That was moved by Councillor Strang, second by Councillor Vazarowicz. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
talk later. Okay, so now we are at number 9 on our agenda, and that's communication for information. And there's a couple of items there. The Disaster Prevention and Climate Resiliency Program funding. This actually came through from the Winnipeg Metro region, but it's actually a provincial program that I guess some people are taking advantage of. Deepak, do you think that there's anything that we could be eligible for here, or?
We have looked at it over the weekend. We received this on Friday and looked at it over the weekend. It looks like there may be one project that would be possibly as a candidate. We're going to look at implementing it as quickly as possible. There's $15 million available here. We want to certainly take advantage of it. It has to be a minimum of, I think, $250,000 expense as a charge.
Okay, so would you need a council resolution to submit that grant, or if we just direct administration to submit if we fit the criteria, would that be sufficient?
I think it'd be sufficient to give this as information for yourself, and I'll bring forward a proper resolution of council once we've identified the project and the amounts that council can then approve. So,
Okay, but you'll submit, because I see the date is June the 19th. We don't have a meeting prior to then for a resolution.
oh, we don't. So if you could give me permission to submit, yes, please.
So is it a 50-50 thing, or what is it? Or just, they give you, yeah?
Yeah, it's just a grant, similar to the
It's
grant.
not a 50-50, it's a grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we find a project that's for $200,000, then they would pay the whole shot.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so are you gonna craft a resolution that we could maybe look at before we break for lunch? Colleen is shaking her head. Yeah, I guess I can do that. Okay, so we can move on.
The next is a letter from Minister of Municipal Relations on, this is just for information, Red River North Trails. They received grant funding for $20,000 and $20,008. And the other is basically related information, whether once they receive this is part of sustainable communities information that they can get it. We also have, as part of the sustainable communities, that they can still meet by implementing it by respecting the public health orders. We have the same thing coming up for the grant application that we made, which is the other information from building sustainable communities. And we have great news that $75,000 has been approved for the new South St. Clements Park. And for the project, we should be able to move forward on the phase 2. David King is going to start working out and filling out all the information related with it. We will, of course, notify the working committees and any other members that have been working on this project with us. And I think the mayor has some comments about related with this project as well.
Yeah, I actually kind of heard about this about a week or so ago and didn't bring it forward because I hadn't had any official notice, and I always feel that until we have an official letter that maybe it's just best not to say too much about it. But anyways, I did get a phone call yesterday from Minister Wharton's office, and he would like to do a public announcement on Friday. So I got a hold of Greg, and we kind of were trying to decide whether we should try and go on the site there or whether we should have it here. Greg did send me a picture of the site, because I did say, is there still a sign there? Or, you know, like, what does the site look like? Could we do a public announcement there? Because I think the minister would like to see council there, he would like to see Dave Kane there, he would like to see some of the committee members there. So it's kind of like, you know, it could be, I don't know, I want to say 20 people. So we're trying to figure out which is the best place to have it. Now, this is the picture that I got from Greg yesterday, and it looks as if we have a very big water feature in the back.
It's okay, that's from the road, so you can line up on the road there.
Yeah, well, that's what, well, and Greg said in his text to me that he could put gravel through the ditch so that we could all stand kind of around the sign, like especially council and the minister, like not all the other committee members perhaps, but if that's what council wishes, and I think it will be right after lunch on Friday. I have to confirm with Minister Wharton's office when is, I have something going on from 11 to 1, and I did tell Minister Wharton's office yesterday, and the other people that we thought might be invited or should be invited is because we did get some other money, which was in the paper last week from the Selkirk and District Community Foundation, a $15,000 grant, so we thought it might be nice to have them here too, even though the minister is making the announcement on this funding, perhaps it's nice that they're there too, so. Comments, questions? Everybody is good to have it there, or what would you like? Scott, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess I have 2 different comments. The first one is, so the Red River Trails grant, I guess that activates the 20,000 that we put in our budget. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, no, as far as I know.
Okay.
55.
And secondly, like, I love ribbon cutting and everything, but how are we gonna ensure social distancing?
If I could answer
Go
that?
ahead, yeah.
Social distancing, of course, is respected throughout the whole process, which means we stay 6 feet apart. One person does the cutting, there will most likely not be 2 or 3 hands holding together, and I don't think there will be any type of a ribbon to cut.
No, I think it's
Most
just
likely
an
just
announcement.
an announcement.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess if the mayor was, like, I don't think you're gonna get all council in for a picture with the minister, unless you got a real wide angle lens.
Well, I should tell you that the paper will also be invited, so maybe the reporter will have a lens that she can catch all of us.
Depends, I hear the iPhone 11 can get quite a wide angle at a close level. So depending on the camera.
So if okay, what else, Scott? Was there anything else?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay, going back to the 20,000 for the grant to the trails. We didn't have 20,000 in our budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think
Yes,
so.
we did.
Yeah, because that was asked for prior to getting this, that we would have back.
So then are we, they're gonna have $40,000 to work with?
Yeah.
Just for,
Go ahead,
I just want to make sure you're aware of where this is for, right?
through here.
Yeah, through here, just through the back from the booth around, that was that piece that
Right,
Dad applied for, yeah.
Right, yeah, yeah.
We did put funds
I
to
didn't
match
think it
that.
was 20,000
I don't
though.
remember the number.
Yeah, there was, we put the
It's a long
20,
time ago.
we put $5,000 for trail maintenance per year, that's standing.
That I remember.
And then there's a $20,000 grant to back this.
In this year's budget or last year's budget?
year.
Because Councillor Horvis is saying last year's budget.
In both. We never used it last year, we put it together in this one.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
just another comment, Councilor Spicer mentioned the social distancing. The legislature on the weekend had a rather huge event there, it wasn't an issue.
People wearing masks though.
Oh,
If you don't social distance, you have to be in a mask.
That's right,
Yeah.
it's one or the other.
Well, Deepak's got a mask there where we all smile, so we can use that one.
Okay, so am I okay to get a hold of Minister Wharton's office and let them know that we are good to go for Friday at the site?
yeah,
This Friday,
This Friday.
I won't be there.
Okay, you're running away already?
Going to Heckler.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Anyways, I will let Carol know when we have our lunch break that yes, it's good to go, so.
So now we're
At a
saying for
time.
social distancing, Dave won't be there, so we'll be.
What was that, Counselor
at a
Basra?
time.
Well, they're gonna give us the time, we can't give them the time, because then as soon as I know, as soon as we know, we'll have to get it to Dave Kane, because that was the other thing, is we would have Dave Kane there, and any of the committee members on your committee, or your, what was the other, your
Our
capital
We're actually
campaign?
having a meeting here on Thursday.
Okay, okay, so then
We
they
can all
will
go
have
to
that.
Simon's at.
Okay, so let's move on. The next one we have anything under is 9.8.1, and that's the Saskatchewan Waste Reduction Council, and there's some information there for us. Deepak, did you have any comment on that one, or was it more for information than
This
anything
is
else?
more for, there's a forum, and if any councilors are interested in attending, going on this forum,
Okay,
there is a cost, and just so you know.
right, and that is a virtual one?
Correct.
And that is in July, so if anybody is interested, if you could just let the office know, and then we'll bring it forward next meeting for a resolution if someone is interested. Okay, the next one is the FCM Connect, and that is the climate leadership for elected officials.
Exactly. And it's,
Today.
you must apply for it by July 3rd.
Yeah,
Or for July 3rd, the webinar to attend is by June 9th.
right, and that is today, so that's information only.
And the other is an additional webinar, June 17th, which we made available for the Manitoba planning opportunities for Manitoba municipalities. It's by, submitted by Urban Systems. Just so you know, we've also, since that time, I've also registered for the session with George Cup
Right.
for the same day.
Was it both the same date?
June 17th.
Yes, I put this on the agenda, and then we got notified of the opening of the George Cup
Okay, this
Friday
is,
afternoon.
right, this is from 10 till 11:30, and CUF is at 1.
Yes, so it's there, just conscious of council's time. We can certainly make the room available so that we can do both seminars if necessary.
Do we know how long CUF's webinar is? Like, is it, like, it starts at 1, is it like 1 to 4?
I believe it's like 45 minutes and maybe a half hour to an hour questions max.
Okay, no, the only reason I'm asking is June 17th is our Red River Planning meeting, and it is at 5:30, and we are starting to have the meetings in the meeting room again this time, so I will be there for 5:30, so I'll have a full day that day. Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Just for clarification, so we're gonna do that this year? Then both sessions of.
Well, it would be up to members of council. If you want to do it here, Deepak will get everything organized to do it here, or you can do it at home.
Okay.
CUF, and this one is planning, funding and planning opportunities for municipalities. And it was kind of funny because Deepak has a contact and I had a contact. We both got invitations from 2 different people for the same one. So, Rob, what we're saying is the webinar on the 17th, that funding and planning opportunities. It's in the morning, then CUF is at 1 o'clock, and then we have planning at 5:30, which will be at the boardroom at planning if you want to attend, or you got that invite too.
Yeah.
So, Deepak is saying if anybody wants to come here and attend the webinars, he could set it up, or we can do them at home, so.
Thanks.
Anything else on those webinars? Okay, so then the last one we have is the Gaynor Family Library, the Reader Online Edition for June. And I guess we can read that at our leisure if we so wish.
Where is it?
Sorry, under new and other.
Under new and other?
I added it. Disaster number 6.7.
Oh. So, Madam Mayor, we have a resolution for the disaster and resilience
Okay.
programming funding resolution, if you'd like.
Yes, we'll do it now, and then we'll go into our committee report, so that worked out well. Thank you, Colleen.
So we will need the project itself. So the project is resolved. Council support the submission of a grant application for the Guns Creek Diversion Project and authorize the CAO to submit the application to Disaster Prevention and Climate Resiliency Program.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Gazarovich seconds. Councillor Spicer, did you have a question, or were you seconding?
I was trying to sneak in and second.
Okay, I guess the question that I would have, that's the one that's not the big Guns Creek diversion, is it?
I think it's the big one. It was the original I
I
think
see.
originally it was submitted as an ISIP as a possibility. So it fits into the
To the other one?
category. So
Okay, Colleen?
If I could state, we also yesterday received a phone call from Municipal Relations, Jason, who's actually on the application, suggesting highly that this application be submitted to this project as it fits. We can't take money from both,
No.
so if we're lucky enough to get this one and for some unknown reason get approved for ISIP as well, we'll have to deny that one.
Okay, what is the dollar difference?
This one's 100%.
Oh, yeah, the other,
Preferred.
okay, right. This is 100% if it's approved, whatever the cost is, up to a max of so much, correct?
I don't know what the max is.
The other ISIP is a 50/50,
ISIP is the third.
or third, okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm good.
Up to 250?
I thought
No,
up
no,
to
it has to be
250.
over 250.
Oh, it has to. Oh, okay, so that's like $1.5 million project or two, isn't it? Okay, all right.
Okay, everybody's good with that? I have a mover, I have a seconder. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So we are down to our council reports. And Councillor Spicer, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, thank you. So I attended the WMR Plan 2050 on June the 5th at 10 a.m. So basically, there's a couple of gentlemen that, named Peter Tomat and Tom McCormick, working on, talking about this, part of the plan 2050. We're still in phase 1. So they're talking about, the population growth that's expected, how many jobs are expected, and a lot of the new jobs are going to require land base, which of course is part of the land use plan that they're talking about with Bill 48 and Bill 49. So this is a projection for the next 30 years. They're looking at 110,000 to 190,000 people coming into the capital region. 82% of them will be in Winnipeg. And there'll be 80 to 110,000 types of new housing needed. 85% of that will be in Winnipeg. chapter here. So the job increases from most to least, they say are going to be in healthcare, tourism sector, and they call it PST services, which is professional, scientific, and technical services. Then education, then transportation, and then financial and construction. They anticipate that there's going to be a larger population increase from now until 2036, and it could level off. The best case scenario is it won't level off and will continue to grow at the same rate. They're saying that more immigration is going to be needed to fill the labor market. Because as we all know, baby boomers, they're still saying that baby boomers are going to work longer, but, you know, there will be still more jobs open that need to be filled. Of the 110,000 homes that are going to be needed, they think that 69% of them will be some type of single-family dwelling or row housing. And then the rest will be higher density, like apartment buildings and so on. Part of their discussion was also the reuse of employment areas, more specifically in Winnipeg, because there are areas in Winnipeg that, of course, they aren't really being used as employment areas at the moment because they're older building stock, but talking about how do you get those rejuvenated. So they're going to be asking the municipalities, all of us, for data on vacant land supply. After it's done, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, then we'll get a report on what it is. Then from then on, it was mostly questions. One of the questions was, what's the difference between CMA, which I've never caught what CMA actually is, and the WMR. The WMR is bigger. The CMA has about 12 census subdivisions in it, and the WMR has 18. They're looking at consulting and engaging in the fall after the data has been gathered on vacant land supply. There will be a need for industrial land, and it will need servicing, and it needs to be predictable. So, you know, it's not, okay, well, we have a plan to do this. It's got to be predictable for people to invest. There was a question about tax sharing and cost sharing, and they never really talked about tax sharing, but they did talk about harmonizing tax rates and harmonizing development fees, which was kind of interesting. The other interesting thing is housing and land per family unit is shrinking. So over time, the land required and the size of house required is shrinking. And we're going to have 2 more webinars. The next one, I think they're planning on June the 26th. And it's going to be it's going to be Stantec presenting, and it's going to be on water and wastewater. And that's all I have to report, and that's the only thing I attended. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Now I can say a lot less on that when you covered pretty much everything that was at that webinar, so thank you for that, Scott. Councillor Bazarowicz.
Very brief, I attended the virtual meeting with Mr. Squires. Nothing new, they've got 344 projects on the go, but they did not say where and when. They announced the $500 million for infrastructure, but that again is to be announced, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Horbis.
Oh, and that was on June the 5th.
Right, that was the same time as the WMR
Yeah.
webinar.
The only thing I have is on the 28th of May, I attended a virtual meeting with Red River Tourism, but it wasn't Red River, it was Interlake, right? Interlake Tourism. It was about for 2.5 hours, and they talked about their finance, which I don't even know if they know what they're doing. It's just a real schmozzle there. Like they got this extra $50,000, but they don't really have it, so their bookkeeping's way out of whack and everything there. And then it just seems like, I guess when Gail, she's leaving, so they're trying to do this transition to the new person, but I don't have too much, when she goes, it's really gonna hurt them because she does everything.
She's a rock there.
Yeah, she is. I can't see like everything there, and it's just like she's, with her not there, it's gonna be bad. And then they passed another bylaw that I guess they'll be calling it voting for the councillors who don't attend all their meetings all the time. So they're gonna come to the municipality now, and they passed a resolution there to, if that happens, or who's ever participating, if they're not doing it, they're gonna let the RM know that. And that's about it. It was a 2.5 hour meeting, but it could have been done in 45 minutes, but it was so.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, and that's about it for me. Everybody got that, what I said, I can repeat if you want.
Councillor Strang.
May 28th, I had a rec committee meeting, and again on the capital campaign for South Increments Activity Center. We are moving along on it, and we have a stable group of volunteers that are actually have plugged up and have stepped up and are going to be we have behind us. So that's really nice to see. I also attended the Interlake Tourism Association meeting on the 28th, and it was on financials, and then the transition of Gail to the new girl's name is Melissa, the new person. And you know what, I think Melissa has a lot of strengths that Gail didn't have, but you're right, Councillor Vargas, Gail is a rock there, and she knows everything, and she has tons of contacts. So she is going to stay on, but I know she wants to retire too, so she is going to help them out. I also attended on June 5th the WMR Plan 2050. I'm just going to add, because Scott, you did a very good report on it. One of the things that I got out of it is this report is going to be the key for us to showcase our RM. It's going to just show us different areas. One of the big things is industrial. And we just all know that that's where we're going to get our tax dollars from too, but they say it's very important and it's going to give us strength to our economic development in our areas. Settlement centers were another thing too for us to focus on more for development. And Scott did mention a little bit about, but they are doing analysis on lands for each of the 17 municipalities around in the Winnipeg Metro region. And they will be delivering profiles for each one of our RMs in 4 to 6 weeks. And otherwise, Councillor Spicer said did a really good report on all the stuff. It was a very good, it was very enlightening just with all the information that's coming out, and it's gonna be something to, for us in council to use, like great information and taxes, competitiveness between the municipalities that we have now, more into harmonizing our costs and, you know, as say for us will be East St. Paul, as things are filling up there, developing, we're gonna get the runoff of it, and just for different prices that they have there too, that what they charge to what we charge. They're just different things that we're gonna analyze and look at.
Okay, anything else?
Nope,
That's it. Thank you for that. And Councillor Boulanger.
I have nothing to report since our planning meeting on May 26th.
Okay. Okay, I have a few things here. May the 29th, I had a John Q meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to review the fiber project, grants applied for, and next steps. I guess there's a couple of other things that happened at that time, and I'll bring everybody up to speed in camera because it is to do with finances and dollars, so we'll talk about that in camera. North Red Water Maintenance, I had a meeting on June 1st. It was called by the chair to further discussion on the corporation. As we all know, our contract with the province has ended as of April the 7th, and there again, we did have quite a discussion. The meeting was in camera, so I will share some of the information, but it will have to be in camera, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, and I believe that is on our agenda for some discussion. The 2nd of June, I had a quick meeting with Derek and Jennifer because we were meeting with we were having a virtual meeting with the province on the 3rd regarding the development plan. And that is also, I believe, on our agenda to speak about in camera, but I will tell you that we went through all the changes because we got the documentation for our meeting on the 3rd. We went through the changes. Jennifer and myself reviewed it, and we prepped for the meeting on the 3rd. So there are some places where we probably will not be pushing the province because we'd like to get the development plan done. So then on June the 3rd, we met with the province, and there was the David Neufeld from the province was there. He's the assistant deputy minister. There were people from agriculture and infrastructure there. We reviewed each item that they had provided to us, and I guess what I got out of it, and when we look at the document that we have later, the province is really pushing for not to fragment agricultural lands, and they're looking at sustainable development in the Winnipeg Metro region. And again, it's the big push for the agricultural lands to keep them as agricultural. So I'll talk a little bit more in camera on that one. On June the 5th, I had a meeting with WMR executive at AMM, and it was regarding Bill 48. The province, or I should say AMM, feels the regulations should be brought forward prior to becoming law in order for all municipalities to have input. And I think we all know that that's not going to happen. The bill will probably end up getting second reading, not till the fall now, because the province is done sitting until the fall. I got that from the meeting on June the 8th with WMR Exec and Minister Squires. So I don't know, it seems that the time frame for people to have their issues brought to the province's attention is kind of, to me, getting a little bit shorter, because now the bill is not given second reading till the fall, and they want to have public consultation after that time. They want the bill passed, I believe it was in January, so it's going to leave a smaller window for that kind of appeal process where we can put our complaints into the province. I guess AMM is wanting the support of the WMR, so we'll be discussing that further, because the WMR is working quite well with the province, and we all know that the WMR is named in Bill 48 as being a planning region of its own. So it's a matter of how far do we want to go with that, so we'll have to wait and see where that goes. And then on the 8th, the meeting with Minister Squires, she basically said that change is hard for everyone, referring to Bill 48, and most times it's easier said than done. The province is busy working on all things for our new normal with the COVID-19. They're trying to do as much as they can to get all that in line. And then we just had a brief discussion on municipal board appeal hearings. There's a lot of, I guess, frustration that the municipal board is going to hear some of these planning hearings, and are the people that are sitting on the municipal board, how in tune to planning are they? So that was kind of the gist of that one. Go ahead, Rob.
You know, the minister makes a comment that a change is not easy sometimes, or how did she put it? It's not, what?
She says that it's hard, and most of the time it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, change is hard for sometimes, but when change is equitably unfair, that's not right either. And Bill 48 is equitably unfair for the partners involved. So yes, Bill 48 is change, but is it fair change to us and to all of our partners?
Right.
It's unfair change in terms of how they're attacking it, in terms of who's paying, how much we're paying, all that. So,
Well, and I feel that, you know, had the province given us the regulations or some of the regulations prior to or with the bill itself, I think a lot of the municipalities wouldn't feel so hard done by, I'm going to say. If we would have known some of that information, and the province might not be getting so much pushback if we had some of that. So that's all I have. So I guess I'll go over to DPAC, if you have anything to share.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think a lot of my items will be in camera, but I can speak to a few things that verbally I will present a written report for the next meeting. And verbally is we did open to the public this coming week, and last week, sorry, this is the new week. Last week we've had no significant issues. As you've seen, we've spaced out the areas, how many people can enter, how far they should be spaced out, whether having a meeting with the staff, the sneeze guards have been put up, and we're monitoring it, and it seems to be working fine. There's been some things that I've been reading up about, public bathrooms, and whether we need to take that into consideration of cleaning methodology, how often. We know that our cleaning staff and cleaning the offices are very well versed in this, and have been doing a good job to date. They've also been doing the same thing in the schools. And we are continuing to support our support staff in the department, and we will continue. Just to let you know, Gary Marshall's joined in for the in-camera discussion. I want to make sure he was here before then. The support staff in the office, if there's any specific circumstances where they need, due to still the issues related with COVID, we will be flexible, but our offices are considered open. And everybody is working at our regular office hours. On top of that, I have spent, since the last council meeting, a lot of work towards working towards revenue opportunities, and I hope to have that discussion with the in-camera discussion. I've had several meetings, one with Scatliff Miller Murray, mainly because they have a standing contract with us. How can we continue to utilize their services, especially when we're talking about Colville and other projects, as well as I've had some meetings with the developer at Sunset Bay. We also had a safety meeting here with our public works staff and went through our One Life product. The One Life is a software product, and it's quite an achievement to be able to get all the information. Everything's being put into online on it, and it's to the point that it has an application, a web app, or iPhone type app, smartphone app, And from that, you're able to access almost all the information as well as do your inspections online with it. Move away from a lot of that paper-intensive requirement when you're dealing with safety-related issues. It also makes a lot of that information available at your fingertips, such as items related with safe work practices, so that once you've developed safe work practices, you can have them online, and then when the staff member is having to do it, they can retrieve it immediately. An example would be you would have a safe work practice on the changing of tires. If there was a flat tire, you have a safe work practice. This would be available to make sure your staff have followed those things in order to make sure that their safety protocols are managed. There's some communication back and forth between the CAOs as well on Bill 48 and 49, and I can share that later with you as well. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you for that, Deepak. Colleen, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today?
Thank you, no.
Okay.
No cookies, no.
Okay, so now before we go into camera, and I think if we're going to have a lunch break, now would be the time to do it, and we'll have a half-hour lunch break probably, and then we'll go into camera right after that. So we're gonna go in camera when we come back from lunch, Paul. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Stand up late.
Oh, that's right, stand up when?
16th.
The 16th? Okay.
On the 20th. 16th and 20th.
16th to the 20th, okay. Paul's told me about how to stand an egg on its head at a
Oh,
certain time of the year to
yes, yes.
nurse or patient. He told me about this when I was back at Red River Planning, so finally 4 years later.
Do we want to do this resolution now or when we come back from lunch?
After lunch, so we'll take a lunch break.